What's up, and welcome back to the DualSense podcast. This is episode number 96. I am one of your co hosts, Jason, and I'm joined, as always, by your other co host who forgot to update his Zencaster name this evening, so he has nothing clever to say there. His name is Travis, of course. Travis, what's going on?
I saw a bumper sticker today that said,
Here we go.
it's really not what you think, which is why it's funny. It said, honk if you'd rather be watching the 1999 cinematic masterpiece, The Mummy, starring Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz.
That was all on a bumper sticker?
Yeah, it's fucking
That's
stupid.
Oh, that's brilliant. And it's also 100% true.
I just love that. That has to be custom made. They're not making those in mass.
Is that 2 episodes in a row that we've gotten in a Brendan Fraser reference? Because we talked about Brendan Fraser and The Mummy very recently.
Well, it's fair enough.
It's the most run Brendan Fraser's gotten in like a decade.
Yeah, he's a great Canadian actor.
Didn't a woman like break him or something? And that's why he like disappeared and like lost a bunch of money, or am I making that up? Then he came
Yeah, I
back and
think
he was like 400 pounds, and he appeared in the movie.
that TV show where he had a cowboy hat.
No, I'm thinking about he was in the Netflix mafia movie that we went and saw.
Oh, The Mummy 2.
No, the one with De Niro and Pacino and
He was
all
in
the
The
guys.
Irishman?
Yeah, he was in The Irishman.
I don't remember that at all.
I'm pretty sure he was.
For some reason, there's a direct correlation in my head between Brendan Fraser and Dwight Yoakam, and I'm not sure why.
You know, for me, it's not Dwight Yoakam. For me, it's Kevin Bacon, because I have this weird feeling that if we looked at it, that Brendan Fraser is one of those people that has like the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. You know, like I
Yeah.
feel like he's attached to like almost everybody in Hollywood in a
Mhm.
weird way. If you looked
Yeah.
at it, I don't know why.
Yeah, but 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon is kind of cool because, like, technically, just because, like, that one day at work we met Paul Pierce, we're technically connected to every NBA player of all time.
That's a good point.
So it's like, it's really weird how that works. Like, we're literally a third degree away from Kobe.
That is
Like,
very true.
I mean, not that Paul Pierce knows us, but, we met him once. But the point is,
Yeah,
it's
one of the
so
oddest
crazy.
things that's ever happened to us.
That was a fucking weird day. I was really interested to see his stab wounds more than anything.
All right. So anyway, Travis, what is this podcast about? Oh,
Stab wounds.
stab wounds and 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Well, I don't have much else to add. I had dinner with an old college buddy this evening, and that's also a great story. Long story short, without having to get into everybody's life history, he is responsible. His job now is his responsibility is to bring sporting events to his town to create economic impact. And he was helping his local college try to locate track hurdles because they're hosting a college conference track meet on Wednesday, and they don't have hurdles for said track meet on Friday night.
Wow, sounds like a pretty big hurdle for the event.
It is the biggest of hurdles. So anyway, they were on the hunt, and they were coming through, and we had dinner and it was good. Anyway, that's all I've been up to. So I got my iced coffee here. It's back. I'm sure that you're very pleased about that. But I got my white chocolate mocha or whatever, white mocha.
No, never had a young white mocha. Do you ever jiggle the ice in your iced coffee?
Oh, all the time. Yeah, you give it
Okay.
the Starbucks swirl. I'm doing it right
Oh.
now. Can you hear it?
Yeah, I can. I would equate
It's
that
a straw
to
banging around.
a rattlesnake shaking its tail is the equivalent of a gay man rattling his iced coffee.
It means some shit's about to go down.
Just letting you know they're there.
Oh, I see. That's funny. All right. Well, anyway, Travis, we are a PlayStation podcast where you and I get together every week and we discuss all of the news, rumors, new game releases, and much more in the world of PlayStation. We do it all in under 90 minutes, of course, and we release new episodes on Monday on all of the normal podcast platforms like the one that you're listening to right now, most likely. We also put it on the YouTube, on our YouTube channel, which is the DualSense Podcast. And you can check it out there if you like. And we also have a lot of gameplay videos there as well for all kinds of stuff across many, many genres. Gran Turismo, Cyberpunk, Crusader Kings 3, etc. Don't forget to also find us on social media. We would love to hear from you and talk with you. You can find us on Twitter. That's our primary go to. It is at the DualSense Pod. But we're also on Instagram where we share virtual photography from our gaming times. And then also we have a Facebook page and a blog, which is the dualsensepodcast.wordpress.com. So look us up there and let's talk. Anyway, without further ado, let's jump into what is sort of a low key, busy news week for PlayStation here, Travis. Starting with number one. More information regarding the upcoming PlayStation Plus premium tier leaked out this week, as website Game Developer reported that Sony has set the stipulations for timed game trials with developers. According to the site sources, developers working on titles with a wholesale cost of $34 or higher will be required to create time-limited game trials of their titles. The trials must be at least 2 hours long and must be available to users for at least 12 months. On the developer side of things, games that cost less than $34 wholesale are not required to create a game trial. They have up until 3 months after launch to release their trial on the PlayStation Store, and this policy is not retroactive, meaning it does not apply to already released games. In lieu of timed trials, Sony does say in their new developer policies that they are open to custom game demos instead, but these will be evaluated on a case-by-case basis. Sony is also still allowing free play weekends, additional game trials, and custom demos on top of the required trial periods. Website Kotaku reported later that news of this requirement has irritated developers as this has not been communicated to them directly. However, it appears the reason why developers have not been made aware is because PlayStation, apparently, is going to handle the time trials themselves on their end, and developers won't have to worry with it, according to Kotaku reporter Ethan Gach, or Gatch, I don't know. In other PlayStation Plus news, Sony quietly disabled subscription stacking this week after a discovery that those who have both PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now will see their subscriptions roll over to PlayStation Plus Premium for the duration of their longest active subscription. So, unless your subscriptions are expired, you cannot use any prepaid codes or cards at the moment. And finally, and even more PlayStation Plus news, PlayStation Network backend data for PS1 titles Mr. Driller, I hardly know her, Tekken 2, Worms Armageddon, Worms World Party, and PlayStation Portable title Ridge Racers 2 have all been discovered and are likely to be included in the premium tier when it launches. But don't get too excited, as nearly 60 titles are set to leave the PlayStation Now service in May before they would be migrated to the new PlayStation Plus service, including Metal Gear Solid 4, several Sonic titles, and some Yakuza games. Okay, so there's a lot going on there. You just take it where you please.
I guess I'll try to start off the jump. So,
Okay.
the first reaction is, there's a lot of negativity around this. People think it's stupid. It's not a good deal. Why is having a 2 hour trial or these old games at the bottom? Why is that worth the premium cost? And that's cool if that's not for you. That's kind of why there's multiple tiers. Like that's one of the things I was thinking about when I was reading all the negativity online, which is interesting because like Twitter isn't the real world. It's just a echo chamber,
No.
really. And people complaining about this. The obvious answer is, well, there's two other there's two other different levels. You could just do that and not have like you don't have to do this. So like that doesn't mean they can't criticize it, but I think that you have to. That's the annoying thing about all this. People are criticizing it like this is your only option. And
You're
it's
right.
like when people are bitching and moaning about getting the vaccine. It's like you can not get the vaccine.
Right.
Same thing. You
Just
can just
just don't do it.
get the middle tier or the entry level tier. It's cool. And
Mm-hmm.
if you're gonna complain about the tier, at least have some valid points. And saying, "Well, I don't think it's very good," that's not a valid point. Like, cool, I don't like sauerkraut, but like that doesn't mean it's not good. Like you have to have like some sort of data or reasoning for your arguments. You can't just say things and piss in the wind. So like that's my point is most of the negativity that I've seen about this is just people with blue check marks who wrote some article, they want clicks, they're being negative because that's what gets clicks, and they're just pissing in the wind with no real reason to back anything up. Okay? And that's
Yeah.
fucking irritating. Like be a real journalist. That being said, the $34 wholesale cost, as you tweeted, that I presume that means any game over $60. That would be about right. So
I mean, that's what I think. Yeah, I'll get into that.
yeah, and the weirdest thing to me about all of this stuff in this point is that the developers don't need to worry about it because PlayStation's going to handle it. Now, what does that look
Right.
like? Like, why is that a thing? Is that a licensing issue? Like, do the developers have developers? I guess don't really have pushback on this really because PlayStation will be like, cool, then don't we just don't have your game.
Right.
So
Yeah. You either put your you either put your game on the PlayStation Store or you don't. I mean, it's up to you.
right, so like that's funny to me. So if
Yeah.
I was a developer, I would go the case by case route. I'd be like, hey, let me control it because I don't want you to
Hmm.
give too much or give the wrong thing. Like both of
Yeah,
those are
that's
pretty
interesting.
valid to me. I don't want them to see the wrong stuff, and I don't want them to have too much stuff either because,
Hmm.
if you're popping a certain level of trophy within 2 hours, some people might just, "Hey, let's drop in these 2 hours, these are all free, and let's just collect trophies really fast," right? I don't know,
That's a good point.
I'm snowballing there.
Hmm.
That's kinda weird to me. I'm interested to see how that goes. The non-stacking thing sucks ass, but I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. I mean, they're a business, I get it. As far as these titles that have popped up that we've seen, the back end data stuff we've seen, none of those really grab me. The worms being a thing is funny to me. Like that's the worms games are exactly what I would expect to see, just because
Yeah.
of like what they are in a nutshell. But having these other games leave the now service that would migrate over, like you know, cool. I can play Metal Gear 4. I could try a Yakuza game. Like that's interesting
Yeah.
to me. So especially if there's trophies.
On those games that are leaving PlayStation Now there at the end there, we also just because they're leaving PlayStation Now at the moment doesn't mean that they won't still be on the new PlayStation Plus, which we don't know that. We
Right.
just know that they're leaving PlayStation Now in May.
And I think that at a certain point, we will have games like those or of that quality or of that reputation
Yeah.
on the service. So if it's these or a different set, I don't know. But like you said, when we get that full list, we'll definitely know, obviously. But yeah, those back end data ones don't get me too excited, but you can kind of see where it's going. And I think people need to keep that in mind too. Like, what are these games going to be on the service? Like it would be a Metal Gear Solid 4, right? It's not going to be Sniper Elite 5. Like it like come on. So there's a lot going
You
on
never
there,
know.
but again, I really want to see how PlayStation handles this. They're handling it. Like that's very interesting to me.
Yeah. You make a really good point there at the end. I think that it does, in a way, seem that they're not totally organized, totally organized with this. Because things are leaking out, they're having to shut things down on the back end to eliminate, subscription stacking. All these kind of negative things are happening from a PR standpoint, and I think that goes to show that they're not totally organized on this front, and that's a problem. But the thing about PlayStation is that they've never been really great at services. They've never been really great at um like technology in a way. Like there are just certain, like, for instance, we're going to talk about it in a little bit. We just got a big PS5 feature that Xbox has already had, for instance. Like that's not that's not necessarily their strong suit. Like making a good, powerful console, like good, powerful hardware is what they're most known for. And now more so, they're known for, strong first
Mhm.
party video games as well. They've made that reputation for themselves. But anyway, back to the case at hand here. So originally, when this story came out, game developer reported that it was the retail cost, which is a lot different from the wholesale cost, as you know. So $34 or higher retail game is what they originally said, which is, that really changes the game. But the wholesale cost of $34 is a higher retail cost game. So my personal math on what I think this looks like and why I tweeted that this I think is around like the $60+ games is because what I was looking at is that Sony takes a 30% cut of every game sold on the PlayStation Store. So if you take a $59.99 game, you take the 30% off of that was $18. So you're down to $42, and then
Mhm.
you probably spend, $6 to $8 on packaging, shipping, manufacturing a Blu-ray disc, marketing the game. So they're probably factoring maybe that's their cut, partially. I don't know. I'm just trying to do some rough math in my head, but it seems like the $34 wholesale cost is like what your typical $60 game is, which makes more sense because typically your $60 titles are going to be the ones that you could definitely, flip the switch on and say, okay, the first 2 hours of this is free. You know what I'm saying? And you're not going to run the risk of, to your point earlier, of like, hey, this game's only 2.5 hours long. We're going to give them 2 hours of the 2.5 hours. So I think by maybe doing that, going that route, and getting those games that are the more expensive, more premium games, maybe you avoid, a situation like that. So we'll see for sure about that. The other thing that I think is interesting about this, as far as, the developer side of it and even the consumer side of it, like, should we have to pay for game trials? That was a big discussion this week. Other people were saying it wasn't fair to developers, and then we found out that Sony was going to do it on their end. And then I'm not in the camp that thinks that we should have a demo for every game. I don't think that. We used to obviously get demos a lot more often back in the day on the older generations of consoles. It's just not something we get a whole lot now. The other thing is that if Sony is going to handle this on their end and make these trials, then that's a cost that they're incurring, and probably the way for them to recuperate that cost is to obviously include that on the highest tier of PlayStation Plus. So if you want these time trials, then yeah, you're going to pay the premium tier service fee for that. And that's just their way of covering costs, I feel like. Now, some people, a couple people on Twitter were mad at me about the subscription stacking thing because I said I get it, but it sucks on some Twitter thread about it. Now, before I say anything else, let me say that when I found out that this was a thing that you could also stack PlayStation Plus and you would be locked into premium for however long. I went and looked at my subscription and I'm locked into like June of 24. And then I went and looked at the price of PlayStation Plus on the website I normally buy the codes from, and it was $50 instead of 60. I was like, well, I'm just going to add another year and save $10. Well, more than that, really. And so I did it. I bought a code, and then I forgot to put it in that day. I didn't do it until the next day, the same day that they took down the subscription stacking. So joke's on me because I bought a $50 code that I can't use until my subscription expires, allegedly. Anyway, people were mad. Going back to what I was saying, people were mad because I said that, but you have to understand, like, I am a PlayStation fan. I am a PlayStation player, but I also understand that in the real world, PlayStation is a business. They want to make money off of us, which is why I said exactly what I said. I get why they're doing it, but I don't like it as a consumer. That's the way everything works. If there are loopholes in commerce somewhere, companies figure out ways to fix them. Whenever there's a price error on Amazon, and I bought a TV 4 years ago, I bought a $5,000 TV for $500 because it was a price error. Guess what happened? They didn't ship me that TV. They sent me an email and canceled my order. Like, stuff, that's just the way it goes. I mean, that's the way it goes. So, like I said, I get both sides of it, and I'm not going to just be mad for the sake of being mad because I have a PlayStation console. Like, I'm going to call it like it is, basically. But anyway,
Yeah.
so I've gone on and on here, but let's move on. Number 2, Sony Interactive Entertainment has established a PlayStation game preservation team within the company, according to one of its newest employees. Website Video Games Chronicle reported that Garrett Fredley posted on Twitter and LinkedIn, quote, "Today is my first day," or first day as I typed there, "as a senior build engineer for PlayStation, working as one of their initial hires for the newly created preservation team. Ellipsis. Thank you, SIE Global Head of Quality Assurance, Mike Bishop, and the team for bringing me on board for this adventure. Let's go ensure our industry's history isn't forgotten." End quote. Fredley previously worked as a build engineer for Canadian mobile developer Kablam, but before that worked at Electronic Arts from 2016 to 2019, where he led preservation efforts for the FIFA franchise. It should be noted that after this story made the rounds this week, Fredley did clarify that he is not going to be involved in emulating games of any kind, at least at this point, as his job is more so that of an archivist. So, you have any thoughts on this?
Well, how hard is it to preserve FIFA? It's the same game every year. Like, you could just pick one, the teams change. I mean, EA really hit its
Right.
heyday in 2004, and it's been dog shit pretty much since then, except for Battlefield 1. Anyway, This is interesting because preservation, that wasn't what I thought. When I read the title,
Right.
I wasn't thinking archivist. I wasn't thinking anything like that. What I was thinking was like more like a person whose job is to work with these studios, probably first party studios more than anything, to make sure that they were maintaining some sort of quality pre and post development. That was kind of how I took it. Like when I think about preservation, I'm thinking about like, when you make preserves, right? You're
Right.
making sure you can still eat the fruit later. So that's kind of how I took it. Like if
Yeah.
we had a game preservationist on Battlefield 2042, maybe some of the issues could have been avoided. That's kind of where I was with it. But as far as actually being more of an archivist, like what's the point of that if you're not going to emulate them later? Kind of seems silly to me. So,
Sure.
there's not, is there a PlayStation game museum coming out that we don't know about? Like, I
Yeah.
don't know what the point is if you're not going to reuse or uh, refresh or reskin the games later. Kind of seems silly.
Well, you actually hit the nail on the head there when you were talking about preserves. He said that, or I think he said, or he may have explained his position a little bit later on, or maybe his time at EA, but he basically, the idea of this position is to preserve the games themselves, like you said, but also the development of the game, how they were developed, the tools that were used to make them, so that, like you were saying, eating the preserves later on, so that these games, if wanted to, could be brought back in the future, for future projects. So that is exactly what it is. He is the guy who's taking, Battlefield 2042 or whatever, not anymore because he's at PlayStation, but just as an example, and he's archiving it. He's getting all the tools, all the software, all the assets together, keeping it all together in a place to where later on, 10 years from now, if EA decides they want to put Battlefield 2042 on PlayStation 6, they can pull that back out and go back to that project basically. So it is exactly that, which I think is kind of neat. But it does make you wonder what, like you said, for what purpose? I mean, why do this if you don't have it? If you have zero intention of ever going back to the well on some of these
Right?
games.
Silly.
So, yeah. So it does definitely seem like eventually one day that he would be resurrecting some of these things, or the team would be resurrecting some of these things. Number three, Sony rolled out support for a variable refresh rate on PlayStation 5 this week with a new system firmware update. On HDMI 2.1 VRR compatible televisions and monitors, VRR dynamically syncs the frame rate of the display to the PS5's graphical output. This increases the performance of PS5 games only by minimizing or eliminating visual issues with frame pacing and screen tearing, making screens render seamlessly, graphics look crisper, and reducing input lag. Several PlayStation 5 titles either have received or will receive in the near future support for VRR, including Astro's Playroom, Call of Duty Vanguard, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, Deathloop, Destiny 2, Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition, Dirt 5, Godfall, Spider Man Remastered, Spider Man Miles Morales, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, Resident Evil Village, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, Rainbow Six Siege, and Tribes of Midgard. In addition to these natively supported PS5 games, players can also apply VRR to PS5 games that do not support the feature by turning it on in the system settings. This may improve graphical quality for some games, but should be turned off if it results in any poor performance or graphical glitches. Any thoughts on variable refresh rate?
But that last sentence reads like, "Hey, we don't know what will happen if you put it on the other games."
Right. So if it
um,
fucks up, be sure to turn it off.
no, I mean it's cool. That could explain why my HDMI wasn't working the other night and I had to reset my whole TV.
Hmm.
But yeah, like, is this what you were talking about? The Xbox had, but we didn't.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah, so like that's interesting to me. Like you said, it's PlayStation's really good at making powerful machines, but they kind of miss the boat on some things like this sometimes. In a way that the way that we talked about this before, but the way that Sony operates and PlayStation specifically feels very Japanese in their business acumen as opposed to American or
Right.
Western, I guess you could say. And I think this is kind of a reflection of that. It's very matter of fact and like this is the way to do it. It's kind of hard to explain, but it exists in every kind of Japanese related field that I'm aware of. Like car culture is the same way, anime is the same way. Like it's just how they approach things.
Hmm.
So I'm never surprised when something like this comes up later that we get later on. at some point they decided it wasn't important, and then they reversed position is what I'm kind of getting out of this.
Yeah.
I think the games listed are interesting, the ones that are having or received or will receive in the future the support. It's interesting, like, Destiny 2 and Dirt 5, like, these are games that have been out a while. Why are we doing both of the CODs? Like, that just is interesting. Ratchet and Clank, you would expect the newer games like, Ratchet and Clank or Deathloop or Tribes of Midgard, right? Something that's came out recently uh, that kind of would fall in. That makes more sense. But
Yeah.
whatever. Hey, if it looks better, I'm for it. I'm always for reducing input lag. That's something that's annoying. And when it's bad, it's fucking bad. So hopefully if this helps me move past that, I'm very excited.
Yeah. I mean, this is cool, but I have a personal problem with this in that my television does support VRR, but my particular model of Sony TV, if I use VRR, it disables HDR in some games, and it also disables my, what is it called? My screen, my local dimming, because my screen
Yep.
can dim like locally or whatever,
Mine
like
does that
not
too.
on. Yeah, so I did turn this on last night, and I was playing around with it in a couple of different games, and I noticed that it turned off my local dimming, it turned off my extended dynamic range, and something else, and
Hmm.
I didn't really notice anything. I noticed that I didn't have those things that it turned off more so than I noticed anything with frame rate or performance in terms of the frame rate or frame pacing and all that. Like to me, that kind of defeated a lot of the purpose of my TV itself, and some by not being able to use those features. So I turned the VRR back off because I got to thinking about it too. As long as games can give me 60 frames per second unlocked, then I'm good to go. Like 4K 60 is perfect. I don't need to play Miles Morales at 4K ray tracing and 100 frames per second. Like, I mean, I get that's cool, and if you want to do that, that's fine. But like for me personally, I don't need that. I would rather have the local dimming and the higher graphical fidelity with the locked 60 frames per second. So, I mean, it's glad that we have it, I guess. And one day I'll be able to have it all because I'll upgrade my TV again for about the 19th time, but I'm not going to do that anytime soon. So I'll just stick with my normal setup. Number 4, industry sales analytics firm the NPD Group released their March data this week. One of the biggest takeaways is that all consumer spending across gaming fell 8% year over year and 15% versus the calendar year average, as console supply remains constrained and consumer behavior shifts back towards experiential spending, indicated by a staggering 24% drop in hardware sales compared to the first quarter of last year. On the software side, Elden Ring remained the best-selling game of the month, is the best-selling game of 2022, and is the second best-selling game of the last 12 months as a whole. Gran Turismo 7 debuted as the second best-selling game of March and set an all-time launch month record in dollar sales for the Gran Turismo franchise. And finally, the top 10 best-selling games on PlayStation platforms were, in order, number 1, Elden Ring, followed by Gran Turismo 7, which was also number 2 on the overall list, regardless of platform. 3 was MLB The Show 22, which was 4th on the overall list. Horizon Forbidden West, which was 5 on the overall list. WWE 2K22, Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origins, Call of Duty Vanguard, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, Spider Man Miles Morales, and Ghostwire Tokyo at number 10 on PlayStation, which was number 12 on the overall list. Any thoughts?
Oh, the game spending following's not crazy. I mean, it's not a release year for the console. People are still buying less from COVID. The 25% drop in hardware sales, you would expect that because the system's older. Maybe not that
And you can't
high, but
find them.
yeah, but it all yeah, exactly. So they're not there. They don't exist in a way. I mean,
Yeah.
Sony's put out a waiting list now, which you think they would have already have done that like 12 months ago, but whatever. So yeah, I mean, none of that's terribly surprising. It'll be interesting to see kind of where does the gaming spending kind of balance out, and we may not really know because if PSVR 2 comes out this year, that will also jump the numbers. Like, they're not going to be able to release something every other year that will. I say that because 2 years after the VR, there'll be the PS5 Pro, so maybe they can, but you get the idea. So there's going to be a drop at least every other year, so I think that's fair to assume. As far as the game list goes, nothing there surprising. Elden Ring is what it is. It's a powerhouse at this point. Gran Turismo being, I expected it to be 1 or 2 on PlayStation. I'm a little surprised it's number 2 overall, but not crazily surprised. I figured the
Mhm.
show would be above it, to be honest. And after that, nothing there was really surprising. I mean, WWE surprises me that it's 5, but, like, no everybody likes it, so I guess it really shouldn't be surprising.
First of all, like you said, the 24% drop in hardware sales is a combination of things, but most importantly, it's because you can't find PlayStation 5s at the moment. And I don't know that Xbox is having that hard of a time with supply. It sure doesn't seem like it based on Twitter talk. It's very hard to find a PS5 right now. So that in combination with, like you said, and like they mentioned, NPD did, people are going back to spending money going to ball games or to a concert or, taking
Yeah,
a trip or whatever. So
like
people,
your mom's OnlyFans.
yes, exactly. And we talked about this all of last year too, that, the numbers last year and really for the last 18 months were inflated from COVID because everybody was home and playing games and they wanted something to do. So we knew everything was inflated from all of that to begin with. So yes, things are declining, but I would chalk it up more to things are regressing to the mean, returning to the norm as it were. So on the game front, Elden Ring, like you said, that is a beast. It's just I don't. It's so crazy. And then Gran Turismo 7 higher than MLB The Show surprised me as well. Just I think that's a really strong start and a strong debut for Gran Turismo 7 or 7. Sorry, number 2 on the overall list and 2 on PlayStation. That's pretty big for them. Horizon, I don't know if they'll ever. I mean, probably at some point. I would love to know how many copies Horizon has sold. But I guess 4 on the list and 5 on the overall is not bad for Horizon. The one that kind of surprised me, it was Ghostwire Tokyo even charting at all, to be honest. But there really wasn't much hype for this game. I don't think it kind of came and went, and it actually snuck in at number 10 on the PlayStation list and 12 overall. So that's actually better than I expected it to be, in my opinion. So interesting. Number 5, PlayStation revealed the lineup of PlayStation Plus games for May this week after they were leaked earlier in the week, of course. The new batch includes football, soccer game, FIFA 22 for both PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, cooperative survival action RPG Tribes of Midgard as well for both PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, and action roguelike game Curse of the Dead Gods on PlayStation 4. Did you know anything about these besides FIFA, of course? What do you think? What do you think of the lineup as well?
Lineup's not really that bad. I think, FIFA will obviously get downloaded a lot. I think a lot of people will try Tribes of Midgard since it's free and people love co-op games and, survival games have
Yeah.
a pretty big niche now.
Do people love co-op games?
Apparently,
Are you one of the people that love co-op
I
games?
enjoy co-op games when they're not scary.
Do you think you would enjoy Tribes of Midgard?
On paper, I'm not annoyed at it, but yes.
Okay.
I'll try it. Why not? I'm not interested in Curse of the Dead Gods. Like that would be a fun book to read, I feel like, but I'm not
Yeah.
interested in reading it. I mean, playing it.
Yeah. What about Blessing of the Living Gods?
I'm more about pain.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Well, I think this is a pretty strong month in my opinion. FIFA's huge, obviously, one of the biggest sports games every year. So that's huge. Lucky for me, I already own it, so I don't get it for free. And I am very excited about Tribes of Midgard. That was one I was interested in when it came out, but I didn't want to play it by myself. Now I have friends that have no excuse to not claim the game and download it to hopefully try it with me.
I was thinking you could just delete FIFA and download it for free.
just for the mental aspect of it that I can say I got it for free. Curse of the Dead Gods, I had heard about it before. I watched some gameplay on it after they announced it. I might check it out. I'm not totally turned off about it, but as we've discussed, roguelike games, I have discovered that they're not for me, but I'm not having to pay for it. So, well, let's not get into that. It's a part of my subscription fee. So I'll try it and see if it's any good or not. People say it's very good. And I think it got good reviews, but overall, a pretty solid month for May. Number 6, Travis, we also have a bunch of news nuggets as well. Feel free to jump in here wherever you see fit. First nugget, Website Video Games Chronicle reported that a quality assurance tester at Naughty Dog has listed an, quote, unannounced remake project, end quote, on his LinkedIn profile, which is most likely the heavily rumored The Last of Us remake. So we pretty much know everything Naughty Dog's doing at this point. I just wonder when things are going to come out. Like, when's this going to come out? When is Factions going to come out? Like, how much longer do they need on Factions? I don't fucking know.
Oh, maybe it died.
Also, the Uncharted Legacy of Thieves collection is set to release on June 20th, according to a leaked release date on the Epic Game Store. It's supposed to release on PC, I should have said. So it'll be on Epic Game Store on June 20th, most likely Steam as well. PlayStation is hiring a senior director of PC planning and strategy to optimize their sales and commercial growth plan. That's interesting because I wonder if they're going to start. We've talked about, I wonder if they're actually, what if they have the balls? What if they have the huevos? And I'm going to say that they do based on everything that they've been doing. I wonder if they have the balls to release PlayStation Studios games day and date, same time they put them on PlayStation 5.
Direct to PC.
Mm-hmm.
This makes you wonder. It makes me feel like they're at least doing some sort of trial or some sort of data mining. They're doing something to figure out if it's feasible.
I agree. Also, a new image tweeted by Hideo Kojima seemingly confirms that he is working on a PlayStation 5 title, as a development kit of the system can be seen in the background. He was also utilizing Sony's Moda technology to virtually oversee motion capture on the project. Just feel like that's another one of those things that's inevitable at this point. I feel like he might be not only working on a PS5 game, but I think it just makes so much sense for him to be a PlayStation studio, but we'll see.
He's doing some weird shit. It's kind of
He's tweeting all the clocks and shit. He's
yeah,
up
what
to
does this
something.
mean?
He's up to his shit again. You know, he's up to his like teasing Easter egg shit. He's obviously teasing his next game, but I don't know. I mean, I don't think anybody's figured it out yet. Just clocks. They're always like 20 to 25 minutes ahead of the previous day's picture. Next nugget, the real life Tsushima Island in Japan will soon begin selling official merchandise based on the game at tourist and souvenir shops. That's pretty neat. 2K is developing a futuristic rival to Rocket League called Gravity Goal. Real original, according to insider Tom Henderson. Go from Rocket League to Gravity Goal. Developer Infinity Ward revealed the Modern Warfare 2 logo this week as they start to ramp up the marketing machine for this year's entry in the Call of Duty series. Very excited. VentureBeat reporter Jeff Grubb said this week that the upcoming Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order sequel will be released sometime in 2023 for current gen systems only. Capcom announced plans for a new Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak digital event next month to reveal new content coming to the game. Free-to-play life simulation adventure game Disney Dreamlight Valley was announced to be coming to consoles sometime in 2023. Players will build relationships with Disney and Pixar heroes and villains while making their mark, on the land by customizing their dream village. This game's going to fucking murder.
No, I would just make friends with all the villains.
You would.
Like, what kind of crazy village? The villain village? I already named it, so we're in.
There you go. This game, I'm serious. This game's going to fucking murder. Like, we think Fortnite is big. I'm not saying it's going to be as big as Fortnite, but this game is going to fucking murder. This is going to be the next game that like everybody streams, that we have all these weird fucking crossover things. Like every time there's a Marvel movie that comes out, fucking Iron Man's going to show up in your valley or whatever the hell, your village. I'm just telling you, it's going to be big. Next nugget. A U.S. federal judge has partially ruled against Destiny 2 developer Bungie in their case against cheat creator Aim Junkies and Phoenix Digital. The judge deemed that Bungie has not provided any facts that represented an unauthorized infringement on the copyright for the game. However, the case will continue on the basis of trademark infringement. Here you go. 6 minutes of Skull and Bones gameplay leaked out this week and offered some insight on the current state of the game. If you're interested and you can still find it, I think it's been taken down, copyright striked at this point. Final Fantasy XVI producer Naoki Yoshida told a Japanese outlet called Uniqlo that, quote, development of the latest title, Final Fantasy XVI, is in its final stages, end quote. We were originally promised an update on the game this spring after learning that development of the game had fallen behind by 6 months due to work from home issues. I wonder if that's going to come out this year. I mean, final stages, it's May, so you would think you've got no more than 6 months or so. I don't know.
But they've made how many Final Fantasies have they made? So you can make the argument they don't really know what final means.
True, that's true. This feels like a December game to me. Like oddly, like this seems like one of those games that releases in one of the most random months to put out a video game. Like you release this in December and it's just fucking huge. It's right before Christmas. People hopefully can finally get a PS5. You know what I'm saying?
They put it out the same day as Call of Duty.
Yeah, could. I mean, they could. Fuck them. Also, website gamesindustry.biz reported that PlayStation is also hiring Kabam veteran Chris Davis as senior director and head of mobile business development, and former Meta and Zynga executive Olivier Courtemanche as head of mobile product. Okay. Sega will be delisting the digital versions of standalone Sonic the Hedgehog titles on May 20th. That will be a part of the upcoming Sonic Origins collection. This includes Sonic 1, 2, 3, Knuckles, and Sonic CD. Ubisoft shut down online services for more than 90 older titles this week, although they can still be played offline. They're mostly titles from the PlayStation 3 era and spans all their major franchises from Assassin's Creed to Ghost Recon. You can view a full list at Ubisoft's website if you're concerned. Konami announced that free-to-play title Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel has been downloaded more than 30 million times.
On purpose?
Oh, that's good. Yeah, on purpose. Also, former Square Enix developer Yuji Naka, the creator of Sonic, I think he created Sonic the Hedgehog. Could be wrong about that. He at least developed
huge
games
knockers.
for him. Huge knockers. Revealed that he took the publisher to court over his unfinished work on Balan Wonderworld, which was a disaster at launch, and also claimed that he was removed as the game's director 6 months prior to launch, which led to him filing the lawsuit. Interesting. Cooperative packing and moving party game Moving Out has crossed 1 million copies sold. Likewise, Devil May Cry 5 has also hit a milestone, crossing 5 million copies sold. Website Push Square reported that new correspondence from Sony has indicated that the 340 additional games added to the PlayStation Plus premium tier will be comprised of a, quote, catalog of beloved classic games, end quote, and not just random retro games thrown into the service. So sounds like they're going to pick the most popular ones, which means that Die Hard Trilogy may make it, or Driver, because those are both PlayStation greatest hits or whatever. Remember they had the green bar on the case?
Yeah, I think they'll start with the greatest hits and go from there. I mean, that's what I would do.
That'd be fucking dope. Next nugget. Virtual reality developer In Dreams announced that they will be revealing 2 new VR games this year, including their first next-gen VR game for PSVR 2. PS4 and PS5 cyberpunk cat adventure game Stray is targeting a summer release window, according to a new video shared by PlayStation.
I still don't know what that game is.
I don't either. I'm mildly interested in it, but I don't know. We'll see. Ace Combat 7 is getting Top Gun Maverick crossover DLC on PS4 at some point later this year. I'm assuming when the movie comes out, obviously. This won't come as a shock, but the PlayStation Store on Vita was experiencing issues this week with its search function and various other parts of the store, but has since been restored. Thank God. JRPG Tales of Arise has crossed 2 million copies sold, according to publisher Bandai Namco. Upcoming horror game, The Quarry, amazingly will have 186 different possible endings on PS4 and PS5.
Jesus Christ.
The script for the game is over 1,000 pages long, according to game director Will Biles, who also said that actors had to shoot 50 pages worth of scenes per day.
Oh, I'm sure they love that.
Or normally, I think they do like 10 for a movie. The game also went gold this week, Travis, so it is on track for its June release. The top-down stealth action game Justice Sucks Tactical Vacuum Action will launch on PS4 and PS5 sometime this summer. Also, tennis game Match Point Tennis Championships will release on PS4 and PS5 on July the 7th. Website PlayStation Universe reported that the following games received updates this week: For Honor, Call of Duty Vanguard, Call of Duty Warzone, Terraria, Minecraft, Dying Light 2, Elden Ring, Black Desert Online, Grand Theft Auto 5, MLB The Show 22, Resident Evil Village, Spider-Man, Spider-Man Miles Morales, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, Riders Republic, Neverwinter, Dauntless, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, and Gran Turismo 7. A free trial of Street Fighter V Champion Edition is live now on PS4 until May the 11th. A trophy for the Stanley Parable Deluxe Edition on PS5 requires you to not play the game for 10 years before it will pop,
Oh my god.
meaning meaning it will take you 10 years to achieve the Platinum Trophy. Or perhaps just manipulating your PS5 system clock for 10 years instead.
That sounds illegal.
Who knows? Who knows? Also, a new Sifu content roadmap from developer Slowclap revealed that difficulty options are coming to the game in the near future. All future Need for Speed games will be co-developed by Codemasters Cheshire Cat and Criterion Games, according to new job listings at Electronic Arts. Activision officially confirmed on a recent earnings call that it is working on a new Call of Duty Warzone game to release later this year, as had been rumored. Warner Brothers' upcoming open-world cooperative Batman universe title, Gotham Knights, has been rated in Taiwan for current-gen systems only, which is rather curious because it had previously been announced that it would come to last-gen as well. It's interesting. I don't know why that would be the case. Maybe the last-gens just aren't ready to be rated, which is also interesting. Be interesting. It'd be weird to delay the last-gen versions of a game. Well, I guess Sherlock Holmes just did that.
Yeah.
But that was because I think of where they were making it. Weren't they making the PS4 version in Russia or some shit?
Yeah, they're a little busy over there.
Yeah, they're a little busy trying to be shitheads. Next nugget. Website Gematsu reported that tactical RPG Fallen Legion Rise to Glory and Fallen Legion Revenants will launch on PS5 on August 23rd in North America, August 26th in Europe, and September the 2nd in Australia. Single-player 2.5D action platformer, side-scroller, and 3D first-person puzzle exploration game. That's correct. It's all of that. American Arcadia was announced for consoles by publisher Raw Fury, but no release date was given. Free-to-play kart racing game Disney Speedstorm will launch on PS4 and PS5 sometime this summer. Another one that will probably do pretty well. Publisher THQ Nordic has delayed Motocross vs. ATV Legends from May 24th to June 28th. Mystery visual novel game Mothman 1966 will release on PS4 on July 14th. Quiz show game Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? Or did you like my Ron Burgundy inflection there? Will release on PS4 and PS5 sometime later this year. Planetary spaceship flying exploration game XO1 will be coming to PS4 and PS5 sometime this summer. The game will take advantage of the DualSense haptics and trigger capabilities as well. That one looks pretty cool. Survival game This War of Mine Final Cut will release on PS5 on May the 10th and includes the original game as well as all DLC. Cooperative third-person shooter Glitchbusters Stuck on You was announced for PS4, but no release date was given. Publisher Arc System Works will release River City Saga 3 Kingdoms on PS4 in the West on July 21st. Remakes of turn-based strategy RPGs R-Type Tactics and R-Type Tactics 2 Operation Bitter Chocolate were announced. They will be released as a single collection, but no platformers or release date were announced. And finally, Gematsu reported that Metroidvania Shoot 'em Up The Night Witch was announced for PS4 and PS5. It will launch sometime later this year. And that is all for the news this week. I'll turn it over to Travis now for this week's new games. Big list of games this week. Holy shit.
Ooh.
Hope you're ready.
On the 25th, we had Research and Destroy and Stride. On the 26th, we have The Serpent Rogue, Gas Guzzlers Extreme. It's interesting. On the 27th, we have Escape 2088, The Sorrow Virus, a faceless short story. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, Vampire Masquerade Blood Hunt.
Mm-hmm.
On the 28th, we have A Street Cat's Tale, which I feel like was just somebody saw Stray and made their own version. We have Sadie Alder's Blood Definitive Edition.
Nice reference.
Arcade Archives Yukai Dushkuki. Okay. We also have Farm Manager 2022, which sounds awful. Raven's Hike, which they fly. Why would you do that? Unless that's so Raven. We also have Rogue Lords.
I see what you did there.
We also have Sherlock Holmes Chapter 1 on the PS4. Tassomaki Behind the Twilight. The House of the Dead Remake. Waifu Impact. I couldn't tell if that was an L or an I.
Good job.
Waifu Impact. On the
It's a very
29th, we have,
sexual game box cover, by the way. It's like
is
a
it?
big titted anime girl. Very sexual.
Oh, love big titted anime girls. On the 29th, make sure you isolate that. On the 29th, we had Breakout Bricks, Burger Run, Dandy and Randy DX. That sounds.
Danny and Randy Dix.
Dragon Break Classic, Manny Faces, Ravenous Devils,
Man,
and Taco Run. Ooh, Taco and Burger Run came out this week.
oh, that's interesting. I wonder what those are. They're like Crazy Taxi for burger Ubers and taco Ubers.
I can't, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah. Okay. So that's all of the new game releases this week. That's quite a list in terms of amount. In terms of quality, that's pretty questionable. Let's see here. Man, I mean, honestly, Blood Hunt, Vampire the Masquerade Blood Hunt's probably the biggest thing on there, and then maybe Stanley Parable after that. I'm going to talk about Blood Hunt here in just a moment. So let's move on by wrapping up the show, as we always do, by discussing what we have been playing or anything that we're looking forward to. So, what do you got?
Yeah, it raced a little this week. They updated the game and people were freaking out online because they said it's basically the same physics as GT Sport. So they're like, why do we make a new game?
Yeah.
And I understand part of it. I get it, especially when you put in as much time as a lot of these people have to learn how to drive these cars, which are inherently more difficult, and they make it easier. So that can be frustrating. I get that, but I will say, someone who has driven a very poor excuse of a race car, and somebody who is familiar enough with racing to know that like the way the grip was falling off on the cars before the update wasn't realistic for the types of cars we were driving. The GR3 cars, for example, in real life, you you can jump curbs with them and they won't spin out. You can
Okay.
you can hammer them. You can drive them like a maniac. Really, that's kind of not what they're designed to do. But they're based off of road cars, and they're in a sense they're like Super V8s or NASCARs where you can really drive them in a way, and they'll take some beatings, right? They're not finicky like an F1 car where like you touch a curb and you can get snap oversteer if you hit it the wrong way. So the fact that the new update lets me do those things is not incorrect. And I think people don't necessarily understand that. But I get it. I mean, if you just kind of do this stuff for fun, you're not going to pick up on that stuff. But if you follow it enough and you've actually driven a real car kind of in anger with other people on a track, cars are a lot more grippy than you think. Just pointing that out there. Now there are certain
Yeah.
types of cars that are impossible to drive because they don't have downforce, but that's a different question. But the point is they probably went too far in the other direction, and they probably need to land on the happy medium of kind of where the game came out and where it is now. So hopefully that'll get there. They did some balancing issues, which they've actually fixed a lot of the balancing issues. If you remember, I talked about how like there's just certain cars you can't even drive because they're so slow, but they've kind of balanced it out a little bit better now to where it's more realistic with what you'd expect differences in cars to be. So it's getting better. The people who are freaking the fuck out and saying it's unplayable, they're being dramatic basically, and they're
Yeah.
they're just want to hear
Imagine that.
themselves talk. So it's not that it's okay, guys. Let's calm the fuck down. And there's actually some really fun races this week. If you look at it, they also added this feature where you can quote unquote rent a car. So like you used to be able to, if you didn't have a car and it was a certain type of car you had to use, it would let you borrow the car. But now you can rent it. And the cool part about renting is one, it's free, but two, if I go to race maybe a GR3 or a GR4 car and I have one in my garage, I can race it. But if I want to try like the Volkswagen or the Jaguar, I can rent the car for that one race and try it. So that's pretty cool. So I like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that before, but now it is. So that's really cool. I do like that addition. But I think the game it's not in a perfect state, but it's better than it was last week. Even though people disagree with that, I could tell you if you talk to people and read comments from people who actually race, dude, it's fine. So anyway, played Chivalry 2, had a blast. Had a guy get destroyed with a crossbolt right in front of me as I was mid swing with a sledgehammer, and he ate shit. It was hilarious.
Yes. I love that.
I had a couple bad games. Actually, didn't play that bad. I went back and forth on first and third person, and I do that just kind of on a whim. whatever I'm feeling, whatever if I have a depends on what weapon I have too. Like, if I have a huge sledgehammer, I like to play in first person. It's just fun. I actually
I do too.
prefer shooting the bow and arrow in third person. I just feel like part of
Oh,
the
really?
reason is because I can get ganged up on by like 10 different people. And being in third person, I'm able to like kind of stay alive longer and move around. 'Cause it's harder to defend yourself. But yeah, we had a blast. New maps. I got a trophy for winning 25 matches at one of the things. So it's a classic. It's fun like always. But yeah, other than that, I downloaded Blood Hunt so we could play that this
Oh, you
weekend.
did?
Yeah, so we
Okay.
could
Is
try that this weekend as long as everything works. That was all.
that it?
Yeah.
Okay. You had a little pregnant pause there. I just wanted to make sure. All right. So I also obviously played Chivalry 2, as you mentioned. And, we've gotten back into it obviously the last couple of weeks. And I just am reminded why I love that game so much. It's wonderful. I love playing it. We talked about the whole first person versus third person thing. And you, like you said, you concluded that it is easier to play in third person, but I just can't do it. I'm a purist. Like I want to be in first person. I want to, feel like I'm in the shit. I want to feel like I'm, a medieval warrior or whatever. So it's a lot of fun. I do think I can't get over. It makes me laugh every time that I have the great sword or someone else has the great sword, and just seeing how comically fucking huge
It's
it
outrageous.
is.
Yeah, it's the huge yeah.
It's it just doesn't make any sense. But it's hilarious. It's a great game. If you haven't played it, you really are doing yourself a disservice. If you like multiplayer games, if you're tired of shooters, you want something different, something that's going to make you laugh, but something that you can also, if you're ultra competitive, you can certainly, grind on that game to figure out how to get good and be really good at it. Because trust me, I get dicked on all the time. so,
Yeah.
uh, but also I did play some more Crusader Kings 3. I have a new episode up on the YouTube channel for that. I have episode 4 up. In that episode, I finally took down my nephew, and I thought it was Dublin, but I was confused. It was actually the county of Leinster or Leinster. I don't know how you say it. So that I love that game. I actually need to try to play some more this weekend to get episode 6 ready to go because I already have 5. So I'm gonna at bare minimum do like 10 episodes and see how it does. The first 3 are doing pretty well on YouTube, so we'll see how long I keep going with that. But I just love how like random it is and like the weird shit that happens, and by just playing the game, and I don't know, I don't know, it's like the emergent gameplay aspect of it. Like just things happen by you manipulating the systems and so on. So it's very cool. Also played some more FIFA 22. Nothing really to say about that. Messing around with Bradford and trying to sign some guys and whatnot. I played more Lego Builder's Journey, some more of the story mode on that. It's a very, zenned out game, very low key, relaxing game. Very cool. If that's something that you're looking for, I think that probably is a good game that you can just kind of turn off and play for 20 or 30 minutes at a time. Played Battlefield 2042, believe it or not. I re-downloaded it after the 4.0 update to see how things were. Just check in, after several months away, and I can report back that things are better. Definitely improved from a technological, like mechanical gameplay standpoint. My bullets seem to register better now, for example. So yeah, they've put in some work. Weird glitches are gone, that sort of thing. So it's cleaned up. I'll put it that way. However, it should be said that it shouldn't take 6 months or whatever after launch for the game to be in this state. So just further cements that they should have delayed and brought it out sometime this year. But it is what it is. It's better now than it ever has been, and that's the case with games like this that come out in a not great place. Is that the next update is always going to be the best version, and they're going to be better then than they ever were. Anyway, the last thing I played was Vampire the Masquerade Blood Hunt, and I played it for like an hour and a half last night, and I think that it's pretty good. It's a third person battle royale style game. The thing that I think that makes it better for me than other battle royales is that it inherently makes it to where it's kind of pointless to hide. or to not engage with people, I feel comfortable. Like on when I play Fortnite, I'm like, there's like a sense of dread of like, okay, I don't want to die so fast because then I got to do it all over. And then, okay, so let's like get some stuff and let's try to hide and survive till the end. Like, I don't feel that way with Blood Hunt. Like, I feel like it's more like a shooter than Battle Royale. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think it plays kind of like Infamous on PS3 in terms of the traversal. Like, you're just climbing up buildings, like jumping over shit, whatever. The gunplay feels good. It's got a good variety of weapons from like crossbows to sniper rifles to you know, Tommy guns, like all kinds of shit. And then the different classes have different skills and whatnot. So it's cool. I'm digging it so far. And then there's kind of like a little bit of like story elements that they're trying to mix in there. So that's kind of neat too, I guess. You can kind of take it or leave it, but yeah, it's not bad. I mean, listen, it's free. As I say, I've definitely played much worse for the price of free. I've played worse for $20, as I recently talked about on the show. So definitely download that and give that a shot on PS5. It sounds like we're going to give it a shot this weekend. So anyway, that's all we got for the show. We'll get out of here now. If you guys enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe so that you never miss an episode. We'll get delivered to you on a Monday on your podcast feed. And if you would also consider leaving us a review, or at the very least giving us a rating of stars or thumbs up or whatever the case on your podcast app, that helps us out greatly with algorithms and the like. We're always trying to beat some algorithm is the problem, some AI somewhere. And also, don't forget to share us with a friend or a loved one who you think may enjoy the show. If you have some PlayStation fans in your life. And also, finally, don't forget to find us on social media as well. We'd love to hear from you on the Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook at the DualSense Pod or the DualSense Podcast. One of those two will work for you if you search it. And yeah, we'll get out of here. So you guys take care. Have a great week. And we'll talk at you next time. Bye-bye.